We are back and look at the sun.
Yes, which is kind of funny for the movie that we're about to see that we're in full sunlight right now.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. We're usually here in the middle of the night. My name is Raina.
I'm Drew.
We've been best friends for 20 years and we see movies. We try to see them every week at our local movie theater.
We do.
We decided to start this channel because we were reviewing these films to each other and our friends anyway, and thought it could be a really fun way to just share our passion. We really want to encourage people to go to the theater.
And it looks like for this one, people might actually be going. So what are we seeing today?
We are seeing Sinners, and it's in IMAX, yes?
In IMAX, yes.
And it looks like it's almost full.
Yeah, almost full.
And it's...
Which is nice for a non-franchise film.
Who is it, Drew?
It's Michael B. Jordan.
Oh, and there's two of them.
And there's two of them.
Okay, I have to tell you, and Drew will agree with me, I'm not one to typically fawn over male celebrities.
Mm-hmm.
There's maybe a couple where I'm like, yeah, I really like them. But that man is the whole package.
It's unfair that he's that pretty and that talented at the same time.
And then he's genuinely kind and funny.
Yeah.
I went on a deep dive before recording this, just looking at his obsession with anime, and he gets trolled, but his clapbacks to people on the internet are hysterical. The man is just like, he's a geek about it. It's so cute. If you aren't familiar with him, he was in the Marvel franchise for Black Panther. He was the main villain in the first film for Wakanda, and he was also Creed. I never watched those films.
I didn't watch them either, but he is Creed in those films.
Mm-hmm. And what's the premise of this film, Drew?
So, I actually don't know a whole lot about the premise of this film. The trailers don't give too much away, but it appears that it takes place like back in like the 1920s or the 1930s during sort of the jazz age. And from what I can glean, it's about a town that's sort of beset by a group of vampires, and the town has to kind of band together to respond to this vampire threat. But it also apparently has a lot to do with like jazz music and the Black American experience, and not a big surprise for the director of Black Panther, who also directed this.
It's reminding me a little bit of Lovecraft County, which I absolutely fell in love with. It dealt with a lot of similar themes as well as supernatural stuff. Mm-hmm. And it was very big on Black history and Black culture. And as a Canadian, I do know Black history, but what I know is more Canadian Black history. Mm-hmm. I don't know as much American. So I didn't know anything about the Tulsa riots. And then I learned about them through that show, and it was mind-blowing. And I feel like it's giving similar vibes in here, that we're going to see some, even though it's a fictional piece of work, we're going to see some actual historical stuff maybe tied in.
Yeah. And what it sort of reminds me of is there was a movie back in the early 2000s based on the graphic novel 30 Days of Night.
Yeah.
With Josh Hartnett, and directed by the director of Hard Candy. And it kind of reminds me of that, but this is more of a period piece combined with that.
Yeah, and I really like Hailee Steinfeld, who's going to be in it as well. Mm-hmm. And also, it's giving me, if anyone has ever seen the TV series Chapel Light, which was a sort of Stephen King offshoot that was filmed in our province and partially here. And then it was like vampires as well and period as well, but it created a mood. Mm-hmm. And I feel like this trailer has captured a similar mood.
Yeah. And the early reviews of this have been nothing short of rapturous. Like, the critics are just adoring this. Mm-hmm. And every site, every review I see is just glowing. And sometimes that can cut the other way in the sense of raising your expectations too high. And then you go in and you're like, what was everyone going on about? But the almost unanimity of the positivity about this film has me very excited for this.
It's funny because Drew and I often see these the night before they release, which is why when you see our videos, sometimes the showings aren't quite as full. And I think sometimes that's just because people don't realize the showings are out. And then by the time I get it edited and I get it up online, it takes me a couple of days. You know, there's like hundreds of reviews to compete with. But hey, our friends and family are supporting this. And the more of you that keep interacting with our videos, YouTube is a pull-based algorithm, so it will pull our video to more people who have similar tastes as you. So hopefully we get out there. But we keep making the joke, Drew, that we're not a horror channel.
Yes, but we are finally seeing an actual horror movie, not a horror comedy like The Monkey. We're actually seeing our first legit horror movie for the channel, and it will not be the last one. So
yeah, I'm really excited, and we're actually getting close to airtime, so we're going to wrap up really quickly on our intro and go ahead in. We'll let you know what we think. See you soon.
See you soon.
Yeah, that was something.
Wow.
I was not expecting most of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had read in the reviews a lot of people singling out the music in this film, so I was like, oh, okay, it's going to have a really good score, and I will say, absolutely phenomenal score in this movie. Would not be surprised if it gets a nomination at the Oscars next year for Best Original Score. I
actually wonder if it qualifies as a musical. And I'm not saying that to turn people away. I'm not talking Joker 2 musical. I just mean that the music is woven into the story. There is singing and performing, and it's woven in, and music as almost a language and a way of connecting is a big part of the story.
Yeah, but it's not like a musical. It's not like, a scene is happening, then everyone just bursts into song. Like, these people, when they sing, they're performing something that exists.
Yeah, but there are musicals that's what the music is. So.
But it's not like the entire bar suddenly joins in and knows all the words and knows all the choreography. It's not like Beauty and the Beast or anything like that. But yeah, music plays a very, very central role in this movie.
I was not expecting it, actually, and I found it quite profound.
Yeah. And I was totally wrong in the intro. I said it was like the jazz era. This is not jazz. This is like
1930s.
1930s blues. So a lot of guitar-based music. Things that sound like,
steel
updated
guitar.
Yeah, steel guitar and updated spirituals. And yeah, the music really blew me away in this.
Yeah, it was there was a few really interesting Easter eggs that I'm sure other reviews are going to touch on, but we're a no spoiler review, so I really want to touch on them, but I can't. All I can say is listen to the dialogue, look at things. There's some good Easter eggs and nods. Super impressed with the costumes too. It's a period piece, right? Yeah. It is a period piece, but it's really focused on the Black perspective and just what it was like for people during that time and the merging of their culture and this generation that was born in America. It was filmed in Australia, but it was very...
Do we know that it said in the end credits something about Australia?
Was the only location that was listed in the credits.
It looked very Southern American to me.
Louisiana.
Yeah.
Okay, this is it. Drew and I are a little gobsmacked.
Yeah.
It just wasn't what we expected, but in a really good way. And it's the kind of film that it's hard to nail down to describe to people because it really is an experience. It's an experience, and absolutely one you should do on the big screen. The
biggest screen that you can see this on, with the best sound system you can see this on. Don't wait for streaming. Don't this is not a movie that's to be watched at home with the lights on and the kid crying in the background. This is a movie that you just have to let wash over you and bring you into its world.
And it really does. We're white, and it is, the characters are not white, and it's very much from the Black perspective, and that didn't matter. We were sucked into it. We're not American. We don't have Southern states, and we were still sucked into that and into the culture and into everything. And just the discussion of music was very relatable, even though they were drawing on their ancestral roots and the 30s and everything, and little hints of religion and stuff. One point I do want to point out is that the music is used in ways that kind of defy convention, in that society, religion sets up one type of music is bad and one type of music is good, sort of, and like you hear the good music in certain types of films, in certain types of TV shows, it signifies something. You hear the bad music in certain types of films, and it signifies something. This flips it. It flips it. And I'm not calling it bad because I think it's bad. I'm saying that religion sees it as bad. Yeah. That's what I mean. And it does look into religion, but not hitting you over the head with it, not going too deep into the religion, not making it the focus, because sometimes those films get trapped in that and they only focus on that. So,
but there's a little bit of a plot tension of secularism versus religion, remaining religious and tied to your church and that sort of thing for one of the characters. So there is a little bit of that, but it's
and
not
there's a little bit of voodoo.
So I do want to say in the intro, I also got something wrong when I said this is our first just straight up horror movie. This is not a straight up horror movie.
No, it takes about it was like almost 2 hours before the horror kicked off. Like prior to that, it was hints of horror, little hints there. But I'm going to tell you something. You're not going to feel like it's a total like jump the shark or tone shift. You are invested. You get invested in the characters. You get invested in the backstory. You get immersed in the environment. I would have watched this even as a TV show or a miniseries or something. Like I didn't want it to end. Like I wanted to stay in that world and keep learning.
But you do need to keep that in mind and going to see it. It takes a while before the crazy shit starts to happen. But I didn't care. It sort of reminded me of Black Bag in the sense that it introduces you to the characters, lets you get to know who they are, and then does some interesting stuff with all of them.
Yeah, I really didn't feel like the majority of characters were fodder the way you get in a horror story. So even when characters die, it wasn't like, oh, that person died. What was their name again? Or do we even know? You get a lot of good... You don't always get backstory, but you just get a lot of familiarity with them. And it feels like a community. And you can feel what these brothers are trying to do in their community. And you're rooting for them. And you want like their bar to work. You want their club to work.
So now that I can actually say what this movie is about, because I clearly in the intro had no idea what the hell I was talking about. The premise of this movie is... the two twins played by Michael B. Jordan return to their hometown. From Chicago. They recruit a whole bunch of community members and they're going to open up this sort of like blues bar.
Juke joint? They call it a juke joint.
A juke joint.
Yeah.
And so the first part is sort of letting you get to know these various characters that are getting recruited to contribute to this place or to work at this place. And it takes place basically on the opening night of this nightclub, not nightclub, but what I'm trying to say.
The Juke.
and that's when the club is beset by vampires. So it's not the town. It's not like a showdown kind. Well, it is a showdown kind of thing, but it's not like the entire town. It's not 30 Days of Night. It's not 30 Days of Night. It's
Although there were a couple things that I noticed that reminded me of 30 Days of Night in terms of the makeup and how they handled the vampires. It did remind me a little bit. I felt like there was an intentional nod.
Yeah. So it's a slow build up. At one point I said to Raina, like, this is building the tension so well. Like, you can see once it starts to come together, okay, this is where it's going to go. I'm not saying that it's predictable, and I don't want to sound like that's a criticism, but you can sort of see where this is all going to end up, and the tension of that just builds and builds and builds and builds.
But you're also just, you buy into these characters. You want them to do well. You get attached to them. You want to see the bar do well. You want to see the young kid be a great musician. And you want to see this stuff. And so it feels more than just, vampires are going to attack people. It feels personal. It's like you're attacking my friends. That's what it feels like.
Yeah, and the main villain played by Jack O'Connell. Very magnetic performance. This is not like your cliche horror movie monster. He's quite charming at times. He's terrifying at other times.
I love the special effects. They did a lot with little. It was subtle.
And can I just say that Jack O'Connell, the boy, can sing, the boy can play guitar, and the boy can dance.
Yeah, but see, this is why I say it does feel like it is venturing into musical territory, because the vampires are all singing at one point. Like we say, well, no, it's not like the bar is doing choreography, but the vampires do, but not in a corny way, in like a freaking terrifying way.
And the bar actually does, like, there's a big group dance scene which was spectacular. This movie sort of defies categorization.
It does. I will say it does remind me a lot of Lovecraft Country. I feel like they took inspiration from it. So if you've seen that series, it kind of plays with similar themes, and and where Lovecraft County tackles the racism of that time, this is kind of similar as well. You know, there are racial tensions, the Klan is referenced and stuff like that, but it still isn't center stage to the story. The center stage really is, you know, these brothers, and he does a fantastic job of playing two people.
Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah, I actually turned to Drew at one point, because you do know from the trailer that one of the brothers becomes a vampire, and I said to him, which one is it going to be? And I think
we were wrong.
We guessed the wrong person.
So yeah, I truly think so. Last year, Demi Moore managed to break the trend of really awesome horror performances not getting Oscar nominated. She came this close to winning for The Substance. And I asked Rain on the way out, do you think it's possible that Michael B. Jordan could continue that and get nominated for his performance?
I think his performance was Oscar worthy. I do. I feel like going to movies has been such a volatile thing lately. Like, people just aren't doing it, and people are waiting for streaming. And I think that the impact of this film is best felt in the theater. I think you can definitely stream it, but if people don't go see it in the theater and it doesn't get that kind of pick up and make its money back and get the buzz, because it's a freaking amazing film. And I don't even want to say it's anything groundbreaking or that the plot is anything out of this world. It's just so well made.
It's put together really well. Some of the cinematography shots were amazing. The camera movements and positions, some of the angles are quite interesting.
It's a very polished film while feeling gritty.
Yeah.
It feels gritty, but it's so polished. The costumes, the mannerisms of the character.
You can almost feel the sweat.
Yeah.
You can feel the sweltering southern heat.
Yeah, and when they were talking about stuff, I felt like I could smell things, you know, it was so immersive, and to me that is such a good movie when you are just sucked into it. I feel like I'm probably going to end up dreaming about it just because it was so immersive that it felt real. It felt real.
So putting Jack O'Connell and Michael B. Jordan's performances, which we've already mentioned, what would you say about the other performances in the film?
Hailee Steinfeld, she does a great job. I was expecting her to sing. She doesn't sing, but you know, she is a singer. So I thought I was going to see her. I loved her in True Grit. Her character reminds me of her character in True Grit. Did you ever see that film or read that book?
I didn't. I've seen clips, and that was when she was just starting out and quite little.
Yeah, she was young. She was 12 or something, playing a 10-year-old. It does remind me of that character a little bit, and all of the actors were just. It was very well cast. Everyone was very well rounded, very three-dimensional.
I love the character of Annie.
Annie was great. Even Perline was so good.
Yeah.
I forget the drunk guy's name, but this is it. He's the token drunk guy, but he's full of gems. So I love that for him. Cornbread. I loved cornbread. Everyone is like, what's that mean? It's just a really good character. And I don't know that we actually get the names of the other core vampires, but they were creepy. They did a good job. And again, subtlety, the horror was there. When they first become vampires, I noticed something in the background of the room that they were in, and I was like, oh my God, Drew.
Yeah.
But it wasn't really called attention to. It was implied, and it was just there. But I was like, oh, I saw that. That upset me. It also felt a bit like a video game. The way video games these days, the really good ones like The Last of Us, and we were saying Red Dead Redemption
is probably the closest. This is like if Red Dead Redemption was a vampire quasi-musical focused on an entirely black cast.
Yeah, but it's just the way that the attention to detail and world building and the way that it's set up. There's these amazing scenes where they're driving through cotton fields and just freaking beautiful. Everything was just so well crafted. I even was look at the buttons on these characters, their clothing. When you would go in, you would see that the jewelry they were wearing, the brass buttons on the hat and the jacket, so much thought went into everything, craft and care. And everything, again, with this film was very deliberate. I feel like even though a lot of the films we've seen this year have not been stellar, it really feels like the quality has been stepped up. We're not seeing as much schlop being churned out. You know what I mean?
Well, take Novocaine, for example. We expected nothing from that and quite enjoyed it. I expected a lot from this movie, and I am happy to report that I am not disappointed. It was not overhyped by the critics. I really loved this movie.
I think my biggest fear is that people aren't going to give it a chance, and they're going to think, oh, I'm not into that genre, or no, I'll wait till it's on streaming. Just go see it. It is one of those films that touches on a lot of genre. It's very rich in story and character and setting, and it's a great experience in a theater so that you can see these big shots and these detailed shots, and you can feel immersed and feel the dread and feel everything. It will take you out of this world for the 2.5 hours or whatever. Like, you will be...
Just be patient that the action does not start right away. There's a reason for that, and it once it pays off, it's richer for having gotten to know these characters first.
It's funny because for me, normally that really sets me off in a movie, and I get annoyed if it takes too long to get going. And I don't mind as long as we're not trading off story. And I think I said this about The Monkey, that I felt there were parts of it that were just like, okay, we kind of sacrificed character building a bit for the story. Or maybe it wasn't The Monkey, it was one of the films we saw recently. But I remember saying that in one of my reviews. Like, yeah, it was good, but I felt like we sacrificed a bit of character development in order to just get through the story. This doesn't do that. Like, you get everything. And I actually, even though it was a long film, I wasn't sitting there going, okay, well, when are the vampires going to start? Because they were dropping hints. You know, it was all subtle, and you'd see things in the background, and you'd get a little piece of the vampire story. So it kept you going, and you knew. And that actually, like you said, it built the dread. Because I was like, they're having such a great time. They're so happy. I'm so happy for everybody. Oh, no.
This is a great opening night until it's not.
And there's just all these great little details. Like the brothers, they had been in the war. And it's not referenced a lot. They don't hyper-focus on, like, PTSD or anything. But there's little Easter eggs about the war, like, throughout the story. There were character deaths prior to the movie starting that get referenced, and again, they're not the main focus, but they just get these little Easter eggs throughout the story that keep the characters going, and it all just lends to this tapestry of a story that is very rich.
It felt like a piece of cinema to watch.
Yeah.
But one thing that I will say is I complained a little bit in my review of Drop that the tonal shift in the third act when the action starts came out of nowhere, and it was very abrupt and felt kind of out of place. I still liked Drop quite a bit, but when the action finally starts in this movie, when everything goes crazy and everything hits the fan, it's been building up until this point organically, and once it goes just full-on crazy action, you're just sort of like, and here we are.
And the action was so well done. It was a very good balance between that horror kind of like, oh my God, that guy's head just cracked open. Oh, it's growing back. Like it was horror, but it also wasn't like so over the top that it was unbelievable the way that some films can get with the gore and everything like that. And I didn't find the gore hard to watch or anything. It was just like fun special effects and stuff like that. They weren't super hyper focused on like making you like look at wounds or hear. Often it was hinted at, you know, you would see somebody walk by and you'd see the vampire bite on their shoulder, but you'd have to be paying attention to see it kind of thing. So
this is not dwelling on, you know, graphically dismembering their characters and making you watch it.
Yeah, it's not like Walking Dead or something and pulling out innards and stuff like that. It's definitely, they have a mission and they're trying to get it done, and the other people are trying to survive it, and they're coming to terms with the fact that some of the people that they love or some of the people in their town are now vampires. So, you know, just that usual hesitation of like, oh my God, how do I kill them? But also it's in the 30s and they're like coming to the realization that, okay, vampires are real. What's our reference point for this? Like, what do we do?
So yeah, like I've always thought that maybe vampires in terms of horror subgenres maybe was just not for me because I did not love Nosferatu last year.
I loved it, but that's okay. I loved it for the cinematography and the immersiveness.
Yeah. I liked Vampire Diaries. That's just because I liked the sort of soapy, pretty people being silly aspect of it. But I was like, maybe just vampire. I've never been really passionate about a vampire movie until this one.
Have you ever seen the Tom Cruise one, Brad Pitt?
Oh, Interview with the Vampire.
Yeah, did you like that?
No, I haven't seen it.
Oh my, game man who hasn't
confession,
seen Interview with the Vampire.
Confession that I haven't seen that.
It is, we will have to watch it at some point. Yeah, so I feel similar. Vampires can be hit or miss for me. I do prefer them out of all the different supernatural horror genres. I prefer them to other ones. Very hit or miss. I actually studied them in a literature course, and it's really interesting to note that the Twilight vampires is like much as fun as people make of them. They're actually quite literary accurate historically, and every time I say that to people who were like, oh, Blade's the real vampire, not Edward Cullen, they hate it when I point this out. So I liked this because it doesn't go too deep in the lore. This effect that they do with their eyes that you see in the trailer, I really liked it, and I felt it very Stephen King reminiscent. I also do feel like it has King undertones. I felt that they were inspired a bit by the way he builds stuff. Although I love King, he can get too rambly and go off on tangents, so this was a little more streamlined. But just in terms of how King will do the job of making you get involved with the characters, build the story and everything, you know, and then now it's like crazy vampires. I love it. I love it. It was good. So how would you rate this film?
I have to give it a 10.
I have to give it a 10 too. I was like, this is going to be our first 10.
This is our first 10. This is the first movie we reviewed that I feel like I'm going to go to the floor with this one and like tell everybody to see it. And it's, unless something really spectacularly amazing happens for the remainder of the year, it's definitely going to be on my top 10 at the end of the year.
Yeah, I think it'll definitely be on my top 10 for sure. I just really enjoy a well-crafted film, and it was well-crafted, just like the substance was well-crafted.
Yeah,
it was just really good, really well-crafted, and it's worth seeing on the big screen. I think my biggest fear is that people just aren't going to go see it. And,
our screening was very well attended.
Yeah,
though.
it's not a reflection of how good it is. And I do want to say again, it's not like it's reinventing the wheel or anything. It's just well made, and it's a joy to watch something well made.
It's just so interesting to see how Ryan Coogler, the director, has managed to make like unusually good films out of genres that don't always attract that.
What are some of his other films again?
He did both Black Panther movies.
Okay, yeah.
Which for an MCU movie was on another level.
I could see this having the cultural impact of Black Panther if people go see it.
Yeah, like my partner who has no interest in superheroes or the MCU wanted to see Black Panther just because of the buzz it was getting and that it looked really good. So now Coogler has done this with the vampire movie. And I'm just so excited to see what other usually not super amazing franchises or genres he may work his magic on, because I am now going to go and see anything that he directs.
Yeah. And it's quite the shift, because we're hoping to see Legend of OT next week, and then Thunderbolts, like everyone else on the planet is probably going to see after. But then, like, looking ahead, what else is coming out that we're interested in?
I want to see Final Destination Bloodlines.
Yeah.
Even though it's not my favorite franchise, the trailer for this one looks unique.
So thanks for coming to the movies with us. We really enjoyed Sinners. We both give it a 10. We hope you'll see it on the big screen. It's definitely worth it. We tried so hard not to spoil. This was a hard one to describe without spoiling. You're just going to have to trust us.
Hopefully we communicated to you in a way that makes you think about seeing it if you were on the fence. But go see it.
Worth it. Totally worth it. Thank you so much for checking out our video. Please like and subscribe. Click the bell if you want an email notification anytime we upload a video. We do appreciate your comments. It helps the algorithm send our video to other people who might enjoy them. And we're trying to grow the channel, so it is encouraging when we hear from you. We appreciate it. We talk about it. When people leave us comments, we talk about it. So it's nice. And just as my own personal thing, I always joke about how humbling it is to go from my mermaid channel with, almost 1 million to here where we're still struggling to get like 100 views on a video. I always do all my makeup and I have a wig on, and I do this whole thing when I do my mermaid videos. And when I do movie reviews, I'm like bat out of hell getting here from work. It's like all I can do to brush my teeth before I get here. I'm forgetting half the stuff. I feel like every time I go to edit the videos, I'm like, oh, I look like crap. But it's because we love the movies. We just try to fit it in our busy lives. So anything you want to add, Drew, to our viewers?
Again, just don't hesitate. See this on the biggest screen possible, best sound system possible. And if you wait for streaming, be patient. There's a point to the early character building stuff. Don't give up. It's amazing. See Sinners as soon as you can.
Right.